My name is Robert M. Peterson, and I am the attorney for Julius Leon Shartsis. It is October 28, 2002 at 11:30 a.m., and we are located at the law firm of Carter and Carlson at 301 East Colorado Boulevard, Suite 320, Pasadena, California. With me is Julius Leon Shartsis, and we are here for the purpose of videotaping his signature of his will at this time. Present with me is Scott Carlson, partner of Carter and Carlson, and I am the attorney for Mr. Shartsis. The purpose of this videotaping is to demonstrate that Mr. Shartsis is competent and is not acting under any undue influence of any kind. I will now ask Mr. Shartsis some questions. Mr. Shartsis, how old are you?
I'm 70 and a half years old.
And what is your birth date?
4/1932.
Would you tell me who your family is?
My immediate family would be my 3 children only.
And what are their names and birth dates?
It's Dale Lee Shartsis, born in 1958 on March the 6th. And Linda Lee Shartsis, my daughter, who was born on July the 9th, 1959. And Gary Lee Shartsis, my youngest son, who was born on December the 18th, 1960.
Are you presently married?
No, I'm divorced.
And was the lady that you were divorced from the mother of your children that you've just described?
Of the 3 children, she was the mother of them. And I have never been remarried.
Are there any other members of your family that are close to you?
Actually, no members of my family or my children are very close to me at all.
Would you describe your relationship first with your son Dale?
Dale, you and I seen him in court when he was about 18 years old, and that's the last time I seen him. I haven't seen him other than that since he's been 16 years old.
And how long ago was that we saw him?
Well, he's 44 years old. He was born in March of '58, so he's 44 years old, and so we haven't seen him for 25 years or more.
And what is your relationship with your daughter, Linda?
Linda, I have a poor relationship with all my children, but Linda is the best. She has 2 children. She's married. She lives in State Line, Nevada. And I've seen her 4 times in about 4 years. Twice I went to visit her. 4 years ago I went to visit her, and then August of 2002 I went to visit her. And she stopped by to have lunch twice during the other 2 years.
Do you have any relationship with her children, your grandchildren?
None, other than I give them E-bonds regularly.
Do you, tell me about your son, Gary.
Gary tried to be friendly, but I don't like his wife at all. And so I haven't talked to him for about over 2 years. I haven't seen him or talked to him for over 2 years. And he's well off.
In this will, you're leaving only 15% of the residue of your estate to your children. Is that what you intend to do?
Yes, and in case I get married, that will be part of the 15%.
Can you describe just in a very general way what your estate is, what assets you have?
I have a home in Victorville, California, I have 29 stocks, about 60,000 shares, and I have about 700,000 in cash in savings and other institutions. So my total assets is at least $1 million, excluding the property at Brand Boulevard, the commercial property. So the total property that I own is my home and its assets, my property at on Brand Boulevard, which is in the will, which is 716, 722 South Brand Boulevard in Glendale.
Do you have an estimate of its value?
No, I don't. I think it's in the millions.
It's commercial property?
It's commercial property.
Now, you're signing a will today. You understand that?
Yes.
And do you understand that a will is a document that speaks as of your death and will leave property to other people at the time of your death?
Yes.
And is that what you intend to do?
Yes.
Now, you're leaving a substantial amount of assets, including the Brand property, to a man named David L. Ho, Jr. Would you tell us who Mr. Ho is?
David L. Ho, Jr. was my neighbor for 21 years at my Brand Boulevard address.
That is the
Commercial.
address. Is that the street, the property you're giving to him?
716, 722 South Brand. And I did a considerable amount of legal research for probably 100 people or more. And David Ho was the only one that reciprocated to me for that, and we became close, good friends prior to me leasing him the property in June of 1985.
And what did he use that property for?
And he used the property for his BMW dealership, one of the many corporations that he owns.
And is he still using that property?
It presently is.
And how do you feel about him and regard him?
Well, everybody would wish they had a good friend like him. He's the best friend I have. I've always considered him my best son by 1,000 times over my regular children. He's a true friend. He's been leasing my property for approximately 17 and a half years. And I have never asked him for anything he didn't do or want to do more for me. And he is a true, great friend that everybody would wish to have.
Has Mr. Ho asked you in any way to leave money to him?
Mr. Ho has never asked me for anything except to lease the property to him.
Has he participated in any way in the preparation of your will or causing you to make a will?
No, he has not, ever. And he has been in my will since 1986. I think it was October the 24th in 1986. I put him in the will at the same time I put the children. The only difference, as our friendship matured, I gave him more of my will, more assets of my will, and in 1991, I believe it was, that I gave him a gift of the total property at 716, 722 South Brand.
Do you believe that you are acting under any undue influence of any kind of his or anyone surrounding him?
Not at all. Just under the great friendship that I have of my own choosing.
Have you felt any pressure from him to leave you this gift?
No. And not only that, not even he has never created any pressure. It's only friendship.
And do you understand that by this will you are leaving the commercial property on Brand Boulevard that you've described to Mr. Ho, providing he continues to still be using it? And so
that is correct. And the sole reason that we're here today is we're just making changes on what we had originally, our previous will had included him for everything that was in there, in this new will. It's only the change of the entities is the reason for redoing this will.
You're also leaving him by this will, you're leaving him 85% of the residue of your estate. That is the estate other than the real property. Is that your intent as well?
That is correct.
And you're leaving your children and a wife, if you had one, 15% of that residue. And is that your desire?
That is correct.
Are you now ready to sign this will?
Yes, I am.
All right. I'm going to hand you the will and refer you to page 4. It's already dated today, the 28th day of October, 2002. And
I have also read this before I signed it.
you've read this in my office just previously to signing it, haven't you?
I certainly have. I almost signed it with an L instead of my full name.
Would you initial the corner of each page except perhaps the page that you already signed?
Right. Including the one that you and Mr. Carlson will sign, right? Is that correct?
You don't need to initial that one because
Okay.
you've signed on that. Well, if there's a last page, yes, you
Yeah.
need to do the last page. You're correct.
Right. You. I actually initial every page so that there's a double.
Now, is this your will?
This is precisely the will that I just signed.
And would you like Mr. Carlson and myself to witness your signature?
I sure would.
All right. I will sign the will first, witness the will first. And I'm signing on page 5 of the will.
And that's your residential address, is that correct?
Yes. Mr. Carlson, would you step over and sign it, please?
Is that your address?
Yes, it
Of
is.
your residence?
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Fine. This now concludes the execution of Mr. Sharst's will.